What is up, guys? Welcome to the Being Beautifully Honest podcast and channel. Thanks for being here, being subbed. If you're not, hit the button. And if you're listening on YouTube, hit that like. It's like walking in the room and hitting that light switch. Let's brighten up the place and get into this podversation. Man, when I tell you, it's just so much fraud out here when people have gotten access to the internet, Instagram, Facebook, all of these different social media platforms. And if they have the gift of gab, and they may have a little bit of experience in one thing or another, they can really get the people and really get people motivated and excited and get them involved in their own intents and purposes. But the way they will speak in languages like, it's about us and we're family and you're a king and you're a queen and we're building Black excellence and it's about building a legacy and all of these different things like that. I'm going to tell you something. I've never followed this guy, but I've heard about him over the years, and he had something that was called the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, Jay Morrison. Well, he's been on the Breakfast Club on a number of occasions back during the times when Angela Yee used to be a co-host. I'm not going to go into the background of all of that stuff, but for those of you who know, you know. And for those of you who don't, I'm going to put a link to some things in the description box so that you can check it out about him if you want to. But basically, this man, in my personal opinion, and I wouldn't even say my personal opinion, just based on the outcome, this man has been a scammer, and he has gotten so many people to believe in this idea of what he was talking about, buying the block back and building up Black wealth through real estate. And a lot of people, quote unquote, invested, which really wasn't an investment in my personal opinion. It was more that they just donated their money, but it was being labeled as an investment. When if people really wanted to invest, they could invest in the stock market. They could invest in crypto. They could invest in themselves. They could invest in their own businesses. They could invest in buying property themselves instead of giving this man all this money that he has been able to grift off of the African American community. And that's why I wanted to talk about it. Well, someone who was heavily involved in his scam, who donated $40,000 of his own money, he's come out to report that this fund is bankrupt, and this man has pretty much been able to build his own dream, buy his own property, lots of land, and it's looking like possibly at this point in time that nothing is going to be done about it unless the people who decided to invest in his grift really speak up and pursue possible bankruptcy charges against this guy. Because if he files for bankruptcy, if there's anything that can be deemed fraudulent, then the bankruptcy will not absolve him of the debt that he owes to the people, and it possibly can result in criminal charges for bankruptcy fraud. So I want to play this guy who is the one that I would say donated, but no, it was supposed to be an investment, $40,000 of his money into Jay Morrison's Tulsa Real Estate Fund. And this is horrible. It's a tragedy. But let's just go ahead and get into this.
Good evening. Dear Tulsa Real Estate Fund investors, it is with a heavy heart that I must inform you of the imminent closure of the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, also known as TREF. Today, the Legacy Center, which is also known as the Black House, was listed for sale. This is the fulcrum that Jay Morrison has been avoiding because it solidifies the sinking of the TREF Titanic, an embarrassing performance of the fund, and him as its sole manager. Despite our collective hopes and efforts, the fund's financial situation has deteriorated to a point where liquidation is the only viable option. As the lead investor with $40,000 at stake and a fellow real estate developer, I've been closely monitoring the situation and conducting extensive research into the fund's operations, which can all be found at www.tulsarealestatefundscam.com. That's tulsarealestatefundscam.com. Over the past year, I've made numerous attempts to communicate privately with Jay Morrison, the fund's manager, to address concerns and seek clarity on the fund's status long before it got to this point. However, my requests for meetings were repeatedly ignored, leaving me with no choice but to share my findings publicly to ensure.
I'm pausing it right there. I gave this N-word $40,000 as an investment, and then he's avoiding me. And then, yeah, go and share this publicly, but I would definitely be pursuing some sort of charges against this fraud. But that's me.
All 15,000 investors worldwide are informed about the actions of the fund's management. Based on the limited information available from the fund's outdated SEC filings and a recent investor call on April 2nd, 2024, it has become apparent that Jay Morrison is proceeding with the liquidation of the fund. The decision is a direct result of the fund's near bankruptcy status, driven by mismanagement, excessive operating costs, and questionable investment practices. At his last State of the Union address on August 11, 2023, the fund only had $575,531 in cash, which has likely been depleted by now. The Legacy Center, aka the Black House, which was owned in cash for a better part of the 6 years, was refinanced, which allowed Jay Morrison to extract another $1.5 million from the fund to cover significant operating losses and his sizable management fee. As investors, we must confront the harsh reality of this situation. The probability of recovering our investment capital is exceedingly low, and the fund's remaining assets are insufficient to cover its liabilities. The most egregious violation appears to be the purchase of Jay Morrison's personal residence using the fund's money through an anonymous LLC, as well as a one-sided agreement for the adjacent 27 acres of land which he will personally own and retain for his family when the fund shuts down and cannot act on the fund's right to develop on that land. While the TREF subscription agreement granted Jay Morrison significant control over the fund's operations, it doesn't absolve him of his fiduciary duty to act in the best interest of the investors. The evidence we have compiled strongly suggests that he has violated this duty through self-dealing, misappropriation of funds, and gross negligence. To address these issues, we have filed numerous complaints, hundreds of complaints, with the SEC, or Securities and Exchange Commission, and the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. However, the lack of transparency from these agencies has left us uncertain as to whether our concerns are being properly investigated. The DA's office in particular is currently preoccupied with very high-profile cases which may delay any action on our behalf. In terms of our next steps as investors, many people want to do a class action lawsuit. But class action lawsuits are primarily for going up against big companies that have a lot of assets to draw from on their balance sheet. In this instance, family, there are very few assets to recoup in the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, so that would be a waste of time. In light of this, I believe that our best course of action is to mobilize our collective voice and draw attention to our plight. I am urging all TREF investors to record short videos sharing their stories and experiences with the fund. By posting these videos on social media and tagging the Fulton County DA's office, which is at Fulton County DA, we can put a human face to the thousands of individuals who have been negatively impacted by the situation. If you're willing to join in this effort, please structure your 1 to 2 minute video as follows. 1, state your name, city, and profession. 2, share how much you invested. 3, explain why you chose to invest in the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. 4, express your feelings about the fund's collapse amidst one of the greatest real estate booms in history and how your money was used to purchase Jay Morrison's personal residence and the surrounding 27 acres, as well as to line his pockets through management fees and questionable deals with his other companies. And 5, Clearly state what actions you would like the authorities, the SEC or DA, to take, given that the fund remains very little assets to recoup. I'll pause for a second so you can take a screenshot of this, and I encourage you to record your video as soon as this presentation is over while it is top of mind. The more stories we tell, the harder it is for them to ignore us, and the more likely it is that an investigation will take place and justice will be served. It is crucial to emphasize that this is not a personal vendetta against Jay Morrison, but rather an attempt to hold him accountable for his actions as the fund manager. To whom much is given, much is required. We entrusted him with our hard-earned money, and he had a responsibility to manage it with integrity and professionalism. Unfortunately, the evidence suggests that he has failed in this regard, and we are now forced to bear the consequences. To my fellow investors, I understand your pain, anger, and frustration you may be experiencing right here, right now, in this moment. It is easy to second-guess our decision to invest in the fund, but we must remember that we believed in a vision of group economics and community development that was greater than one individual. We could not have foreseen the level of mismanagement and deception that would occur. As we navigate this difficult time together, I encourage you to focus on your own well-being and financial recovery. Do not allow this setback to define or deter you from pursuing your dreams and investing in the future. We must learn from this experience and use it to become better stewards of our resources and advocates of our community. To those who have remained silent, yes, you know who you are, or enabled Jay Morrison's behavior, I implore you to come forward and share what you know. This is not about personal gain or vengeance, but about ensuring that justice is served and that others are not victimized in the future, especially by Jay Morrison. Remember, when Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme collapsed, 5 other individuals were convicted with him for their involvement. We know who you are: LT, MF, JP, MM, TO, TB, and last but not least, EJ. Your names appear on the fund's website in addition to the SEC filings, and you are in photographs and videos. I urge you to come forward with what you know and clear your name before any potential investigations commence. EJ, Jay Morrison's wife in particular, we call upon you to provide proof of payment for the 50-plus hours you spent using the fund's podcasting studio to record your It's Negotiable podcast. With the going rate for studio time in Atlanta at about $75 per hour or more, we demand transparency on whether you have been using the space for free. The money is negligible, but if there is no evidence of payment, it further highlights Jay Morrison's lack of integrity and effort to make the fund successful. The people deserve answers, and this matter is non-negotiable. It is bitter irony that the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, named after the tragic destruction of Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, by a white mob, has been burned down from within by a black man who exploited the legacy and the resilience of our ancestors for his own personal gain. This is a painful reminder that we must remain vigilant in protecting our communities from those who seek to take advantage of our trust and aspirations. Unfortunately, all skin folk are not kinfolk. To the investors who may be experiencing feelings of shame or embarrassment, I want to assure you that you are not alone and you are not to blame. It is natural for your friends, family, and followers to question your judgment and in the wake of this crisis, but I urge all of them to refrain from saying things like, "I told you so," or attacking your intelligence. We made a good faith investment in what we believe to be a promising opportunity for our community. The fault lies with those who abuse our trust, not with us for having faith in the potential for collective economic empowerment. We invested in the right asset class, which is real estate, with the wrong asset manager. I'll repeat that. We invested in the right asset class with the wrong asset manager. $11.7 million could have and should have been leveraged into at least a $40 million real estate portfolio after 6 years. Unfortunately, this particular fund has went bust in the midst of one of real estate's greatest booms. As we move forward, I want to express my deepest gratitude to those who have supported me throughout this ordeal. Your encouragement and solidarity have been a source of strength and motivation for me. I also want to thank the whistleblowers, the investors, non-investors, insiders, influencers, and private investigators who have come forward with information and evidence. Your courage and commitment to the truth are commendable and will not be forgotten. Most importantly, I want to thank all of the TREF investors for their belief in the power of collective action and group economics. Though we have suffered a setback, I believe that our resilience and determination will carry us through this difficult time. We must not allow this experience to dampen our spirits or our resolve to build a better future for ourselves, our children, and our community at large.
All right, so you heard that, and I'm going to put the link to this video in the description box so that you can look at it as well if you want to. But listen, that man needs to be in prison. This is such a scam, and I don't know if the people that he is calling to action are going to do videos to support this, but a lot of people that he was able to grift off of, they gave the least amount. And I think the least investment that was allowed was about $500. Now, to some people, that's not a lot of money. But when you look at the African American community as a whole, a lot of people don't have an extra $500 to spare, especially these days. And I don't like stuff like this. And this is why I'm talking about it. I may have done a couple of conversations about him in the past, but people like him, especially, like the guy said, all skin folk and kinfolk. But when I see African Americans, melanated people, grifting off of and taking advantage of other African American people, it really just pisses me off. So the fact that this man has been able to do all that he has done in the name of Tulsa, which we know what happened to Black Wall Street many years ago. So they do things like this to play on the emotions of people, to get them involved, to get them to believe in it. And this is what he has done. He's been endorsed by some people who claim to be all about Black wealth and all of that other stuff. And if you want to go and look and see who I'm talking about, then you can do that as well. But I heard this, and it did not surprise me. This man has been able to get all of this money, mismanage it. And when I say mismanage, I just believe that he was just using the money for himself. He was paying himself a high salary, his wife's getting a high salary, investing in the things that they wanted to do, but labeling it in the name of marketing and management and other fees that are supposed to be for what this fund was supposed to be. But in all actuality, they were just using all of the money and the assets that they had obtained for themselves, buying this legacy center, which was supposed to be for the African American community, but I think it was just a glorified studio space that people could rent out rooms or whatever. It's just ridiculous. I have sympathy for those who got involved, who really just went in on their emotions, because a lot of people get played like that. I will never sit and make fun of these people or call them names or, anything like that. I know there's some people that have, but this man needs to be in jail, and he's already got a record. And from what I learned about him, he was already dealing with a personal bankruptcy when he started this fund. But I digress. I just wanted to share this with you guys, get it out there, because I'm all about spreading the word. So spread it to other people. You can share this video. You can share the other guy's video. I have the link to it in the description box. But let me know what you think about this. Let me know if you have been knowing about this Jay Morrison scam, the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, the Legacy Center, all of that stuff. I've been following this for years. I haven't been talking about it, but seeing that this just came down the hammer, I wanted to go ahead and share my thoughts on it, and I would really love to know what you think. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for being here, liking, and subscribing. I'm Beth, just being beautifully honest. So until next time, I wanted to keep it brief, beautiful, and now I'm going to say bye.